Good morning, everyone. I want to start with a question. What does it mean to lose? We hear it all the time. People win, people lose. Businesses rise, businesses fall. Some succeed, others fail. It's the natural cycle of life, isn't it? But what if I told you that losing is a choice? You see, we are conditioned to believe that if the scoreboard doesn't reflect our victory, we've lost. If we don't get the job, we've failed. If the relationship ends, we've wasted our time. But I believe something different. I believe that as long as we are learning, as long as we are growing, as long as we are still moving forward, we have never lost. Because losing only happens when we stop. Think about a child learning to walk. When they fall for the 100th time, do they stop and say, well, I guess walking isn't for me? No. They get up again and again until one day they're running. So why do we, as adults, give up so easily? The only real difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that the successful ones keep going. They reframe failure not as a loss, but as feedback. They see setbacks not as roadblocks, but as detours, guiding them toward something better. Thomas Edison didn't lose 1,0,0,0,0 times before inventing the light bulb. He found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that didn't work. Michael Jordan didn't lose when he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He won because he kept shooting. And you have never truly lost unless you let yourself believe that the story is over. The best part? We get to decide. We get to decide if a failed attempt is the end or just part of the process. We get to decide if rejection is defeat or redirection. We get to decide if today's struggle is a sign to stop or a reason to push harder. I will never lose, not because I always win, but because I refuse to stop learning, and neither should you. Losing is a choice. This idea challenges everything we've been taught about success and failure. From an early age, we are conditioned to see the world in binary terms. Winners and losers, success and failure, first place and everyone else. But what if that framework is flawed? What if losing isn't something that happens to us, but rather something we choose to accept? When we look at some of the most successful people in history, we see a common pattern. They faced setbacks, obstacles, and moments where they could have given up. But they didn't, and because they didn't, we don't call them failures, we call them pioneers, leaders, visionaries. The only real difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't is the decision to keep going. Imagine two people starting the same journey. They both have a goal, a dream, something they are working toward. Along the way, they encounter the same obstacles, rejections, financial struggle, self-doubt. One person looks at these challenges and decides that it's a sign to stop. They say, maybe this wasn't meant for me. They accept defeat. The other person looks at the same challenges and says, what can I learn from this? Instead of stopping, they adjust, adapt, and push forward. The only difference is the choice they made. Losing is not a moment in time. It's not a single event. It's a mindset. It's the moment we decide that what we want isn't worth the effort, that our dream isn't possible, that the discomfort of failure is greater than the potential of success. The reality is no one is keeping score as closely as we think they are. No one is watching every misstep, every wrong turn. Most of the time, the only person truly judging whether we've lost or not is us. Take any major invention, any great breakthrough, any significant achievement, and you'll find that behind it was a series of failures that didn't define the person pursuing it. The Wright brothers didn't build a flying machine on their first try. They crashed more times than they succeeded, but they didn't accept those crashes as losses. They saw them as necessary steps in the process. If they had chosen to see each failed flight as a defeat, they would have stopped and we wouldn't have modern aviation. When we shift our perspective, we realize that what we call failure is often just an incomplete process. It's not the end of the road, it's a turn we weren't expecting. Too many people stop at these turns, believing they've hit a dead end, when in reality, the path forward still exists. It just requires a different approach, a new angle, another try. The fear of losing is what holds most people back. It's not the failure itself, it's the fear of what failure represents. It's the embarrassment, the disappointment, the feeling of not being good enough. But these feelings only have power if we allow them to. The truth is, every single person who has ever succeeded has also failed, not once, not twice, but countless times. And yet, they kept going. Consider an athlete training for the Olympics. They spend years, sometimes decades, preparing for a single moment. Along the way, they lose races, they fall, they get injured. But do they call themselves losers? No, because they know that every loss is part of the process. They don't see those losses as the end, they see them as preparation. The only real loss would be quitting. The same applies to business, relationships, personal growth, any area of life where we strive for something greater. The difference between the person who reaches their goal and the one who doesn't isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. It's resilience. It's the ability to look at failure and refuse to see it as a permanent state. History is filled with people who refuse to accept loss. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before someone finally took a chance on Harry Potter. Imagine if she had given up after the first, second, or third rejection. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. If she had accepted that judgment, she wouldn't have built the empire she has today. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded, only to come back and transform it into one of the most successful brands in the world. None of these people lost because they didn't allow failure to define them. It's easy to look at successful people and assume they always had a smooth path, that they were destined to win, but that's never the case. The truth is, the people who succeed are the ones who refuse to lose. They don't see failure as an identity, they see it as a temporary condition, a challenge to overcome. The moment we redefine what losing means, we take back control. We stop fearing failure and start seeing it as part of the process. We stop letting setbacks define us and instead use them to fuel us. We recognize that the only real loss happens when we choose to stop trying. Failure is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life. From an early age, we are taught to fear it, avoid it, and do everything in our power to ensure it doesn't happen. We associate failure with weakness, with incompetence, with a lack of ability. But in reality, failure is none of those things. It is simply feedback. It is information. It is a teacher that provides insights we could never gain from success alone. Reframing failure as feedback requires a fundamental shift in the way we think. Instead of seeing failure as proof that we are incapable, we must see it as proof that we are trying, that we are learning, that we are pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones. Every great achievement in human history has been built on a foundation of failures. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every masterpiece has come from people who were willing to fail over and over again until they figured it out. When a scientist runs an experiment, they don't expect success on the first try. They know that trial and error is part of the process. Every failed experiment brings them closer to a solution. Each result, whether expected or not, provides valuable data. A scientist doesn't look at an unsuccessful trial and say, well, that's it, I'm not cut out for this. Instead, they analyze what went wrong, make adjustments, and try again. That's how discoveries are made. That's how progress happens. Yet outside of the lab, most people don't apply this same logic to their own lives. Instead of seeing failure as feedback, they see it as final. They try something once, and if it doesn't work, they assume it never will. They internalize failure, allowing it to shape their identity rather than using it as a tool for growth. This is one of the biggest reasons people give up on their dreams. They mistakenly believe that a failed attempt means they are not capable, rather than understanding that failure is simply a step in the learning process. Consider a child learning to ride a bike. The first time they try, they fall. The second time, they fall again. But at no point does the child think, maybe I'm just not meant to ride a bike. They get back up, they adjust their balance, they learn from each mistake, even if they don't realize they're learning. Eventually, they ride without falling. This process is so natural that we rarely stop to think about it, but it is the perfect example of how failure is supposed to work. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we forget this lesson. we start attaching meaning to failure that doesn't belong there. We see it as personal, as a reflection of our worth. But failure is not personal, it is neutral. It doesn't care about our feelings, our self-doubt, or our fears. It simply exists as part of the process of improvement. The most successful people in any field understand this. They embrace failure because they know it is the only way forward. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, has often spoken about the thousands of shots he missed in his career. He didn't let those missed shots define him. Instead, he learned from them. He adjusted. He kept shooting. The reason he became great wasn't because he never failed. It was because he refused to let failure stop him. The same principle applies to business. Entrepreneurs who build successful companies rarely get it right on the first try. They start businesses that fail, they launch products that flop, but instead of seeing these failures as reasons to quit, they see them as lessons. They analyze what went wrong, what could be improved, what should be done differently next time, and then they try again, armed with new knowledge that only failure could have provided. Reframing failure as feedback allows us to approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. It shifts our mindset from one of avoidance to one of growth. Instead of being paralyzed by the possibility of failure, we become motivated by the opportunity to learn. This change in perspective can make all the difference between someone who gives up and someone who keeps going. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work." This mindset is the reason he was able to invent the light bulb. If he had stopped after the first, the 10th, or even the 1,000th attempt, we might not have electric light as we know it today. Every failed attempt gave him data, insight, and direction. Without failure, he wouldn't have found success. The idea that failure is feedback applies to every area of life. In relationships, failed connections teach us what we need, what we value, and how we should communicate. In careers, setbacks help us refine our skills and clarify our goals. In creative pursuits, rejected ideas push us to think differently and innovate. Every time something doesn't go as planned, it is an opportunity to gather information and improve. One of the biggest reasons people fear failure is because they tie their self-worth to outcomes. If something doesn't work out, they see it as a personal shortcoming rather than a neutral event. This is why it's important to separate identity from results. You are not your failures, just as you are not your successes. You are the person who learns from them. The ability to see failure as feedback is what separates those who grow from those who remain stagnant. It allows us to take risks, to push boundaries, to pursue ideas that may not work, but could lead to something extraordinary. It gives us resilience, the ability to withstand setbacks and keep moving forward. The key to making this shift is to start seeing failure for what it truly is. A teacher. Every time something doesn't go as expected, ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of avoiding failure, embrace it. Seek out opportunities that challenge you, that stretch your abilities, that force you to confront the possibility of setbacks. The more you do this, the more you realize that failure is not something to be feared, but something to be used. People who achieve great things in life are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who fail the most. And learn from it. Every mistake, every rejection, every wrong turn provides valuable information that brings them closer to success. The only true failure is the refusal to try again. Persistence is the single most important factor that separates those who succeed from those who don't. It is not talent, intelligence, or even luck that determines the outcome. It is the ability to keep going despite challenges, setbacks, and failures. Many people start with ambition, with energy, with excitement. They set goals, make plans, and begin the journey with enthusiasm. But as soon as they encounter obstacles, as soon as the path becomes difficult, they slow down, hesitate, or stop altogether. The difference between success and failure is not the absence of difficulty, it is the ability to persist through it. Every great achievement in history is a testament to persistence. No invention, no breakthrough, no transformation has ever happened without resistance. When people talk about success stories, they often highlight the moment of triumph, but rarely discuss the long periods of struggle that came before. They focus on the visible outcome and ignore the invisible effort that made it possible. But behind every success is someone who refused to give up. Someone who faced disappointment, rejection, frustration, and failure, but kept going anyway. The journey to any meaningful goal is filled with moments that test resolve. There will be days when motivation is low, when progress feels non-existent, when everything seems to be working against you. This is where most people quit. They see the struggle as a sign to stop, as evidence that they are not meant to continue. But those who succeed understand that struggle is not a signal to give up. It is proof that they are on the right path. Growth does not happen in comfort. Strength is not built without resistance. The very challenges that make the journey difficult are the same challenges that make success meaningful. Athletes understand this better than anyone. A runner training for a marathon does not stop when their legs ache. A weightlifter does not stop when the weights feel heavy. The entire process of getting stronger requires pushing past discomfort, past exhaustion, past the limits of what once seemed possible. The same principle applies to every area of life. The only way to improve, to grow, to achieve something significant is to persist when others stop. Rejection is one of the biggest reasons people give up. They take a single no as a final answer, as proof that they are not good enough, as confirmation that they should stop trying. But rejection is not the end, it is just part of the process. Every person who has ever accomplished something significant has faced rejection. Writers have had their manuscripts turned down. Entrepreneurs have had their ideas dismissed. Musicians have played to empty rooms before selling out arenas. The ones who succeed are not the ones who never get rejected. They are the ones who refuse to let rejection define them. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. The difference between these people and those who never reach their potential is persistence. They did not allow temporary setbacks to become permanent defeat. They understood that rejection is not a verdict, it is an opportunity to improve, to refine, to try again. One of the biggest misconceptions about persistence is that it means blindly repeating the same actions over and over again. True persistence is not about stubbornness. It is about adaptability. It is about learning from mistakes, making adjustments, and continuing forward with greater knowledge and experience. The most successful people do not just keep going, they keep improving. They use failure as feedback, rejection as motivation, and setbacks as stepping stones. It is easy to persist when things are going well, when progress is visible, when results are coming in, when everything feels like it is falling into place. Persistence is effortless. But true persistence is tested in the moments of doubt, in the moments when nothing seems to be working, in the moments when quitting feels like the only logical choice. That is when persistence matters the most. Every challenge is an opportunity to prove how much something truly matters. If a goal is worth achieving, it is worth fighting for. Most people give up not because they are incapable, but because they are unwilling to endure discomfort. They choose short-term relief over long-term fulfillment. They prefer certainty over risk, ease over effort, comfort over challenge. But everything worth having requires persistence. Everything meaningful requires endurance. History remembers those who refuse to give up. It does not remember those who started strong but quit early. The people who make a difference, who create change, who achieve greatness, are the ones who push forward when it would be easier to turn back. They are the ones who understand that persistence is not just a skill, it is a mindset, a commitment, a decision made every single day to keep going no matter what. Mindset is the foundation of everything we achieve or fail to achieve. It shapes our actions, our beliefs, and ultimately our outcomes. The way we interpret challenges, setbacks, and opportunities determines whether we push forward or give up, whether we grow or remain stagnant, whether we see possibility or limitation. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not always intelligence, talent, or resources. More often than not, it is simply the way they think. People with a fixed mindset believe that their abilities, intelligence, and potential are set in stone. They assume that if they fail at something, it means they are not good enough and never will be. They avoid challenges because challenges come with the risk of failure, and failure feels like a reflection of their worth. When faced with obstacles, they retreat rather than push forward. Their focus is on proving themselves rather than improving themselves, which ultimately limits their ability to grow. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset understand that abilities can be developed, that intelligence can be expanded, and that potential is not fixed. They do not see failure as a reflection of their identity, but as a necessary step in the process of learning. When they face setbacks, they do not view them as reasons to quit, but as opportunities to improve. They embrace challenges because they understand that struggle is part of progress. They do not seek to prove themselves, they seek to develop themselves. The mindset we choose determines how we respond to adversity. Two people can face the same challenge, yet their reactions can be entirely different. One person may see it as an insurmountable obstacle, while the other sees it as an opportunity to learn and grow. The challenge itself does not determine the outcome. Our interpretation of it does. The moment we shift our perspective, we unlock new possibilities that were previously hidden by fear, doubt, and limitation. This applies to every area of life. In business, those who adopt a fixed mindset believe that success is a matter of luck or innate ability. They assume that if their first attempt at something fails, they are simply not cut out for it. As a result, they avoid risk and settle for mediocrity. Those with a growth mindset, however, see every failure as data. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and try again with a new strategy. They understand that setbacks are not stop signs, but stepping stones, each one bringing them closer to success. In relationships, mindset determines whether we grow together or drift apart. People with a fixed mindset believe that relationships should be easy, that compatibility is either there or it isn't, and that conflict is a sign that something is wrong. When faced with difficulties, they assume that the relationship is failing, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to communicate, understand, and strengthen their bond. Those with a growth mindset recognize that relationships require effort, that challenges are a normal part of connection, and that difficulties are not roadblocks, but opportunities for deeper understanding. In personal development, mindset dictates whether we remain stuck in old patterns or push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. Those with a fixed mindset believe that their personality, habits, and skills are unchangeable. They assume that if they struggle with something now, they always will. Because of this belief, they do not invest in self-improvement and they limit themselves to what feels safe and familiar. Those with a growth mindset, however, see every challenge as a chance to evolve. They know that even the most deeply ingrained habits can be changed, that intelligence and skill can be developed, and that who they are today does not have to define who they will be tomorrow. The way we frame our experiences determines what we get out of them. Two people can face the same setback. One sees it as confirmation of their limitations, while the other sees it as an opportunity to learn and improve. The setback itself does not create the outcome, the mindset does. This is why some people thrive in adversity, while others crumble under pressure. It is not the circumstances that make the difference, it is the way they are interpreted. One of the most powerful shifts in mindset is understanding that challenges are not obstacles. They are teachers. Every difficulty we encounter carries a lesson, and the sooner we embrace that lesson, the sooner we can move forward. People who see challenges as barriers remain stuck, frustrated, and defeated. Those who see them as learning opportunities grow stronger, more skilled, and more resilient. The very things that seem to stand in the way are often the things that prepare us for the next level. The fear of failure is one of the biggest reasons people stay trapped in a fixed mindset. They believe that failing means they are inadequate, that it exposes their weaknesses, that it is something to be avoided at all costs. But those with a growth mindset understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of success. No one achieves anything significant without first failing. The difference is that those who succeed do not let failure define them. They extract the lesson, apply it, and move forward. The moment we shift our mindset, everything changes. When we start seeing failure as feedback, challenges as opportunities, and setbacks as stepping stones, we no longer feel stuck. We no longer feel controlled by circumstances. We take ownership of our growth, knowing that we have the power to improve, adapt, and overcome. Mindset is not just about positive thinking. It is about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to every situation. That choice determines the course of our lives. Adversity is not the enemy. It is not something to be avoided, feared, or resented. It is one of the most powerful forces for growth, resilience, and transformation. Every person who has ever accomplished something significant has faced adversity, not as a punishment or a sign to stop, but as a test of their ability to rise. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is not the absence of adversity, it is the way they respond to it. Adversity forces us to grow in ways that comfort never could. When everything is easy, there is no reason to change, no reason to improve, no reason to push beyond what we already know. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it rarely leads to progress. It is only when we are challenged, when we are pushed, when we are forced to adapt, that we discover what we are truly capable of. There is a reason why people who have faced significant hardship often emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Adversity introduces us to parts of ourselves we would never have known existed. It tests our limits, our patience, our ability to endure. It asks us whether we are truly committed to our goals or whether we will abandon them at the first sign of difficulty. It is easy to be motivated when everything is going well, but true commitment is proven in moments of struggle. The great stories of triumph are not stories of people who had an easy path. They are stories of people who faced overwhelming odds, who were knocked down again and again, who had every reason to quit but refused to. These stories inspire us because they remind us of what is possible. They remind us that adversity is not a reason to give up. It is an invitation to rise higher. History is filled with examples of individuals who turned adversity into their greatest strength. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet emerged not with bitterness, but with a vision that changed a nation. Helen Keller, born blind and deaf, transformed the way the world understands disability and communication. Thomas Edison, after thousands of failed attempts, created the light bulb and changed human history. These people did not succeed despite adversity. They succeeded because of it. Their struggles gave them strength, their failures gave them wisdom, and their hardships gave them an unshakable determination. In our own lives, adversity often feels like an unfair burden. We ask, why me? We wonder why things have to be so difficult, why obstacles keep appearing, why nothing seems to go according to plan. But what if adversity is not an obstacle at all? What if it is the very thing we need to become stronger? What if every setback is actually preparing us for something greater? There is a reason why diamonds are formed under pressure, why steel is forged in fire, why muscles grow only through resistance. Strength is never developed in ease. It is developed in struggle. Every challenge we face, every hardship we endure, every failure we experience is an opportunity to build resilience, to sharpen our skills, to strengthen our mindset. Adversity teaches us lessons that success never could. It forces us to confront our weaknesses, to rethink our strategies, to develop patience and discipline. It shows us who we really are, beyond the image we present to the world. It humbles us, reminding us that growth is not about proving we are perfect, but about embracing the process of continuous improvement. One of the greatest dangers in life is the illusion that things should always be easy. When we expect success to come without struggle, we are unprepared when difficulties arise. We see adversity as unfair, as something that should not be happening, rather than recognizing it as an essential part of the journey. Those who succeed do not expect an easy path. They expect challenges, they anticipate setbacks, and they prepare themselves to face them head on. Resilience is not something we are born with, it is something we build through experience. Every time we face adversity and choose to keep going, we strengthen our ability to handle future challenges. We become more adaptable, more resourceful, more confident in our ability to navigate uncertainty. Over time, what once seemed impossible becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes a normal part of growth. The people who achieve great things are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who struggled and chose to keep moving forward. They did not let adversity break them. They let it shape them. They understood that hardship is not a reason to quit, but a reason to dig deeper, to work harder, to believe even more strongly in their purpose. Every challenge carries within it an opportunity to grow, to learn, to improve, to become stronger than before. Adversity is not something to run from, it is something to embrace. Because on the other side of adversity is a version of ourselves that is wiser, stronger, and more capable than we ever imagined.